Huzzah and well met once again, warriors and builders and crafters and magicians of Redstone. I see that I have made it to 50 subscribers, and what a milestone that is. When I started having only 9 subscribers, only one of which was somebody I didn't personally know. It is actually quite amazing, and I understand now why people make these videos where they are so thankful for their hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or even just dozens of people watching their videos. I enjoy doing this. I'm happy to be helpful to all of you. I really enjoy your comments and questions. I enjoy helping you all out. And I also noticed that my shulker box loader video has become, by leaps and bounds, my most viewed video at something like 350 views on the time of recording. So that's just incredible to me. I never thought I would make an internet video that 350 people watched and found helpful. Uh, so, a round of applause for all of you, my bannermen and banner ladies. I appreciate you all. Please keep the comments coming. I'm happy to help you as much as I can. I'm happy to keep sharing my love for this game of Minecraft and my love for automating all of the processes in this game, because I love Minecraft so much that I want to do less of the chores and have them automated. If you play Minecraft, you'll understand. It makes sense. Anyways, so let's get into this without a bunch more ado. But I will preface that I understand there's another video on my channel called Crafter Basics, or at least until this one is uploaded, there will be. That one will become unlisted. But I wanted to revisit the idea. I felt like that video wasn't enough, and I've learned a few things since playing around with the crafter for a while. So, the crafter itself is this block here, and it is able to automatically take and execute on a crafting recipe, I suppose would be the word. And you saw that it placed the iron ingot into the hopper for us. It took the 9 nuggets and made them into an ingot. And so this is a very basic circuit for just building a recipe that requires 9 of something to be made into a more complex block. So commonly we call those storage blocks or storage crafting. We're going to go over how that circuit works in this video, and I intend to make a second and possibly a third video about crafters and how to make them do the stuff that you want automatically, so that you have more time for exploration, fighting monsters, building your amazing epic things, whatever you need to do. So, we'll start right here at our third exhibit. This is just a basic automatic crafter, or an automatic crafter circuit anyways. This block is called our crafter. We're using a second crafter on the back end to put a threshold signal up. So this is a threshold signal of 8. We have this one undisabled slot, enabled, undisabled, is that a word, enabled? Alright, we'll use enabled. And our comparator senses that, and it lights up this redstone with a signal strength of 8. Now, as we're building along, or as our crafter is being filled up, we normally have a hopper loading things into this. We have 7, 8, and as soon as we place this 9th one, watch the redstone down there. I'll adjust myself a little bit here so that you can see it a little better. You'll see the redstone flash, and our crafter will activate. And build us our iron ingot. It will then immediately throw it out. It's hard to see at the moment, but this face, in quotation marks, This gate here on the front here is where the item exits the crafter. We'll quickly put that back together for the sake of my world's aesthetic here. And we'll talk about how this thing is actually working. So this comparator is receiving a signal strength of 8 from this crafter. And don't worry, we'll talk more about other ways that you can predetermine a signal strength or a threshold signal before the end of this video. There are other ways besides building crafters, because they do get quite expensive. There are a lot of iron and whatnot. If you've watched my channel a while, you'll have an iron farm, you'll have everything you need, so it'll be a negligible cost. But if you're in a new world and you want to build some of these, this could get a little prohibitive early on in the game. So what happens here is our signal strength of 8 lights up this redstone. And when our signal strength inside of our crafter that will actually be doing work lights up this redstone to a 9, the redstone dust will be unpowered and repowered for a moment as this higher signal overpowers this lower signal. Our observer will observe that. It will observe the change in the redstone and send its signal. This observer underneath our comparator here will observe that observer observing the redstone. It will send a signal through this blue block, and if you've watched my channel, you know I like to use blue concrete for circuit blocks or other colors for other circuits nearby, so we keep things nice and organized. But it will send its signal through this solid block and up to the crafter, which will fire, as you saw, and produce ourselves, in this case, our iron ingot. This setup is specifically for recipes that take 9 of the same block to just fill out the crafter and craft a storage block. So in this case, we're using iron nuggets. It would also work for iron ingots, gold nuggets, gold ingots, watermelon slices into a watermelon, anything of that nature that you can compact down for storage reasons. So that's our circuit. It outputs to this hopper in front, but you can output in other ways, and we'll discuss that in just a moment. What I want to discuss here is that you can twist and turn parts of this circuit so that it fits better into your build. And if you've watched some of my videos, you've probably seen me do this, but over top of this observer, it doesn't matter which side the signal comes from. So you could have this twisting to the right, to the left as we have it now, and it will still work just the same as long as it lights up the redstone for the observer to observe. It will fire this crafter. And finally, we can turn this crafter in any direction that we want, except obviously over top of our comparator, so that your output can be to the left or right or directly ahead as we have it over here. So just keep that in mind as you're building one of these. You have some way of working within some constraints. So obviously I've used white concrete here to mark out some pads for these things to sit on, but you see that they're not great big circuits, but you have some wiggle room if it requires some misshaping or reshaping for your build. It does not have to be directly in a singular line. These also work very great to put over top of some of my storage silos that you've possibly seen on my channel. If not, go check them out. I have a whole playlist about how to put your items into shulker boxes and into deep storage so that you have all kinds of Minecraft wealth buried away inside of your base and with indicators. But anyways, let's move along here into ways that we can output things from our crafter. So you've seen here that we can output from the crafter directly to a hopper. It, for some reason, will not output directly to a chest. It will behave similar to a dropper trying to place something into a solid block. It will just pop out or shunt to one side or to the most convenient side given the game's logic. So you will need a hopper or you will need a hopper minecart to discharge items to. This one as well it should go to our hopper minecart, or minecart with hopper, if we're using proper names, minecart with hopper, and then directly down to the hopper beneath. So we'll demonstrate that right now. With the iron nuggets, I didn't actually even set this. That's too bad. But this is as good a time as any. Is we'll set this to a signal strength of 8. All you have to do is click on each of the individual things until you have a signal strength of 8. And I will come back to this point. 8 is relative. Actually, I'll not come back to this point. I'll go with it right now. I have, in my own worlds, dealt with an issue where some of my items have decided to be a problem. I use this underneath one of my farms. Now, if you'll see, watch the arrow carefully, you'll see it fire a second time. If what you're doing through hopper loading, whoops, we want this to go to the top. What I have seen this do is load up, fire, and fire a second time. So what we end up with, oh, there we go. I was looking at the wrong one. I thought we were having a problem. We'll get a hay bale, but for every hay bale that we get, or almost every hay bale that we get, we will accidentally receive a bread as well. If I shouldn't give you a hard and fast rule here. Part of it is going to have to do with lag. If you're playing on a realm or on a server, you're going to have more issues. Part of it has to do with the timing of hoppers. Part of it has to do with the strength of your PC. Just adjust things. I found that for myself, if I used a signal strength of 7 on this circuit, I was able to eliminate almost every single possibility that we were getting bread. Whoops. Because there is no recipe for 2 wheat, it wasn't firing when the 3rd wheat was in place. And so we were getting only hay bales with a signal strength of 7 as our threshold signal. I will just continue calling it our threshold signal, but that is the signal that is meant to hold this redstone until we want this crafter to fire. If we use a signal strength of 7, however, it ends up making a mess for, well, there is no crafter recipe for iron ingots and wheat. We're not going to make the hardest bread you've ever known. It does sometimes cause issues with something like iron, because iron has so many different recipes that use different shapes and different numbers. So, all of that to say, fiddle around with your threshold signal to make sure that you're getting exactly what it is that you're looking for most of the time. As a general rule, I have been able to find a way to eliminate all but the very rarest of occasions to make something that wasn't intended in the crafter, such as once in a great while making a set of iron gates, or more commonly a pressure plate, but that's 1 in hundreds rather than the 1 every other hay bale that I found with wheat and bread. So be sure that you're playing around with your threshold signal. Other than that, the crafter obviously does very well for you and will craft your simple storage blocks very efficiently. Now, with the use of a hopper with minecart and turning the crafter to one side for its evacuation or its expulsion, because, well, let's just show you how this works first. Without any other indication, or any other way to catch the items. The crafter just throws the item immediately out the face of the block. So we can use a hopper minecart over top of 2 hoppers. And if you watched my kelp processing farm, which is by far one of my most popular videos recently, uh, you can lock off one or the other hopper with a smart circuit to distribute your outbound product to one of 2 channels. So in the kelp processor farm, I have blocks of kelp coming from the crafter being placed into the minecart with hopper, and then depending on the fuel level of the furnace or the smoker, I use the smoker in that one. Depending on the fuel level of a hopper supplying the smoker with fuel, it will either lock off the outbound hopper or lock off the fuel hopper so that the furnace is never left without a fuel supply of a certain amount. So anything above and beyond goes to the outbound side and ends up in a shulker box storage, which isn't necessary, but that's for another video. Go and check that video out for a more decent explanation. But if you wanted to make items and have a certain number of them be set aside to stay that item and a certain number of overage to go another way, you're perfectly able to do that. And if you've not seen my routers video, which isn't necessarily the most popular concept in Minecraft, most people are trying to condense. But if you wanted to evenly distribute things one way or another, you can do that. And using the properties of throwing the crafter's output into a minecart allows you to send it down different hopper lines so that you have that option. Now, finally, the last way that we can take the output from a crafter, and this is difficult to tell from right here, this crafter is facing into another crafter, and it will immediately throw the item into this crafter to be crafted. So we'll make sure that our threshold signals are set properly, both at 8. And this is why we chose iron nuggets to begin with. We will fill this box, and they will go to the hopper, to the crafter, be crafted into iron nuggets, which will slowly fill this. And once we reach our signal strength of 9 with iron ingots, fingers crossed that we don't have anything decide to be a mess here, our signal will cause this one to craft our iron ingots into a completed iron block. Now, this is the same circuit twice. You cannot set them side by side. You could not set them here because if you turn this one to this way, the redstone will be sitting across both observers and the redstone will connect, causing both of them to interfere with each other and fire improperly. So you could turn this one at the observer and run it this way. You could turn it and run it this way, just so long as these 2 redstone dusts are not next to each other. And what you will get is, as this goes, it will just continue making iron blocks. Every 9 nuggets becoming an ingot, every 9 ingots becoming a block. This will work for gold ingots and for ice blocks becoming packed ice, becoming blue ice to be outputted as blue ice. So there you have that, a very simple crafting situation for your ice farms. Oh, that gives me an idea. I should show you how to make an ice farm as well, even though they're not very redstone intensive. But at any rate, this is for a 2-stage thing. And in a further video, I want to talk about multi-stage building projects. This is a very simple way to do this. There are other ways, such as something that will make you fireworks, something that will make you many other recipes that are two separate items or two separate types of items, no matter what shape they're in. But that will be another video. We're just trying to cover the basics here today. So, threshold signals of 8 for a build pattern of a 3x3 or 9-piece block. This is a very simple way to move all of your items into the more storable compact block types. Like I said, this one will work for iron and gold. It will work for ice to packed ice and blue ice, but I don't think there's any other blocks in Minecraft that do that. At least not currently. I don't. If you know of some, feel free to leave it in the comments, just because I can't think of them off the top of my head right now. So over here, we're going to discuss different ways that you can operate your threshold signal. And mostly this is because building another crafter just to make a threshold signal and not use it as a crafter is, well, it's expensive. And for those more miserly among my viewers, you'll probably like some of these options. This right here, when you've placed enough compost into a composter so that white spots appear on top, that is a signal strength of 8. That is exactly what you need, and it is the cheapest way to do this, because you build a composter, you fill it with, leftover saplings or leftover seeds, whatever things you were going to throw away anyways, into the lava so that they burn up and they don't clog up your world. Perfectly acceptable here. This will do the same thing for you. Whoop, let's grab ourselves some more iron here just to demonstrate. You are not ever going to eliminate that second signal just because it's the nature of an observer. Once the signal strength changes back to this side, the observer is going to observe that as well and fire this observer and fire your crafter ultimately a second time. So just be aware of that if you're using these. Second option that we have, because comparators are so versatile looking into other things, is a cauldron. And a cauldron is a terrible idea. Even filled with water, this one here is filled with water. It's only activating block number 3 here. Or at least I thought, yeah, there it was. You can see that. You'll never see it activate block number 4. Also, a cauldron costs 7 iron ingots. If you're not getting some use out of a cauldron, this is a silly way to invest. Unless you happen to have raided 100,000 witch huts in the swamps and you have cauldrons that you just don't know what to do with, and your crafter recipe requires a signal strength of 3, I would not recommend using the cauldron. You can if you want. I'm not going to tell you how to play Minecraft. That's kind of the fun of Minecraft, is there's very few rules on what to do with it. We can also use a barrel, and you fill it up with the top row, 9 plus 3, 6, and a quarter stack. So 15 and a quarter stacks of an item is a signal strength of 8. And there's our iron block for that one. I didn't get in there and fine tune this. You might be able to get to 15 stacks and 23 items. That's generally a number for hoppers. But don't take my word for it. Obviously, this one just worked with the signal strength of 8 from a set of 15 stacks and a quarter, 16 extra items. And finally, we have a lectern with a book. Now, if you want to write yourself a book with a book and quill, That's perfectly acceptable. All I've done with this one is write the page numbers on the page so that each page has some text on it. I don't know if that makes a difference, if a blank page doesn't count or does count. But what you'll do is take the book and quill, and after you sign it so that it has a title and an author, you don't have to put an author, you do have to put a title, and it is no longer editable. You will take and you'll flip pages, and every page flipped will be a little bit more signal. And we want to get so that the page is 6, and you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 8 is sparking, or the smoke is coming off the redstone dust, and number 9 is not. So we have a signal strength of 8 right here. These are set out to 10 just for demonstration purposes. With a book, I believe you can get all the way up to page. I think you can write a book all the way up to page 15, but the signal strength isn't correlated to each individual page, so you want to be on page 6. Page 6 will give you your signal strength of 8, or page 5 and 6, as it were. And then you'll see our crafter fires just as it did. And really, that's all I've got to tell you about crafters today. I look forward to the next video. But I hope that you understand how these circuits are working and how these are affecting the rules of Minecraft logic or redstone logic. Uh, Once again, hope these are helpful. I am super thankful for all of you. I appreciate your comments. Please like and subscribe these videos. Actually, you don't even have to like. Most of my videos have a 100% like ratio now because people just like them without me asking. So do what you're doing. Please subscribe. I enjoy having more subscribers. That's always great. It makes me feel like I'm teaching a giant college class now. So without too much fanfare, I am your White Sun Paladin, and I hope you are blessed on your next quest, and I am off to my next adventure. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.